A worried and frightened student asked a biker for help because someone was constantly harassing him. The action the biker took was so brave and full of humanity that it restored everyone's faith in humanity. Sarah Martinez clutched her backpack straps as she walked through the shopping center parking lot. The man had been following her for 3 blocks now. She'd noticed him outside the library where she'd been studying for fallers. When she packed up and left, he left too. When she crossed the street, he crossed. When she stopped at a crosswalk, he stopped 20 feet behind her. Her phone battery was dead. She'd spent the entire afternoon studying and forgot to charge it. The bus stop was another 2 blocks away, but she didn't want to lead this stranger there. She needed help. That's when she saw the motorcycle in the corner of the lot. A tall man with a leather jacket stood beside it, checking something on his phone. She had seconds to decide. Sarah changed direction and walked straight toward him. Her hands shook. She'd never approached a stranger like this before, but desperation overrode fear. "Excuse me," she said quietly. The biker looked up. He had a weathered face and graying beard, probably in his 50s. "That man won't leave me alone." Sarah's voice barely rose above a whisper. She didn't dare point or look back. "He's been following me since the library." Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Goodness Effect. The biker's expression shifted instantly. His casual stance became alert. "Which one?" "Blue jacket." "About 40 feet behind me. Please don't make it obvious." The biker glanced past her shoulder naturally, as if looking at something in the distance. His jaw tightened. "I see him." "How long?" 20 minutes, maybe more." "You know him?" "Never seen him before." The biker put his phone in his pocket. "What's your name?" "Sarah." "I'm Marcus. You did the right thing asking for help." He spoke calmly but loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. "Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you to wherever you need to go. That man is going to see you're not alone anymore." Sarah felt tears threatening, but held them back. "Thank you." Marcus positioned himself slightly between Sarah and the direction of the follower. "Where were you headed?" "Bus stop on 5th Street." "Let's go." He didn't touch her or invade her space, just walked beside her at a protective distance. "Stay close. Keep talking to me like we're old friends." As they walked, Marcus kept his awareness sharp. He'd been a rider for 30 years and learned to watch everything around him. Road awareness translated well to situations like this. "Tell me about your finals," Marcus said conversationally. "What are you studying?" Sarah understood he wanted them to look natural. "Biology. I have 3 exams next week." "Tough subject." "My daughter struggled with that one." They crossed into the main street. Marcus subtly checked the reflection in a store window. The man in the blue jacket maintained his distance, but was definitely still following. He'd slowed down, probably surprised Sarah now had company. "He's still back there," Marcus said quietly. Sarah's breath caught. "What do we do?" "Keep walking. Don't look back. Let him see this isn't going to work." They passed a coffee shop. Marcus guided them past the outdoor seating area where several people sat. Witnesses. The man in the blue jacket stopped completely now, pretending to look at his phone. He stopped, Sarah noticed. "Good. He's thinking twice." Marcus kept his pace steady. "But we're not taking chances. We're getting you somewhere safe, and we're making sure he knows you're not alone." A group of teenagers walked past them laughing. Normal evening activity. Sarah had never appreciated ordinary street life more than right now. "How did you know to ask me?" Marcus asked. "You were the closest person. I just hoped." She stopped. "Hoped I wasn't worse than him?" Sarah nodded, embarrassed. "Smart to be cautious. But you read the situation right. Always trust your gut when something feels wrong." They reached the corner of 5th Street. The bus stop was visible ahead. 3 other people waited there. Marcus checked behind them again. The man in the blue jacket had disappeared into a side street. "I don't see him anymore," Sarah said hopefully. "Doesn't mean he's gone. Could be circling around. I'm staying with you until you're on that bus." They reached the stop. Marcus positioned himself where he could watch both directions of the street. The other waiting passengers barely noticed them. "What if he comes back?" Sarah asked. Marcus pulled out his phone. "Then I'm calling the police and getting a description on record. This needs to be reported either way." Sarah hadn't thought of that. She'd been so focused on escaping she hadn't considered the next steps. "Can you describe him?" Marcus asked. "Everything you remember." Sarah closed her eyes briefly, recalling details. "White male, maybe 40 years old. Blue windbreaker jacket. dark jeans, brown shoes, short dark hair, clean shaven, average height, maybe 5'10". Marcus typed notes into his phone. Any distinguishing marks, tattoos, scars, anything. He wore glasses, black frames, and he had a canvas bag, tan-colored. Good memory. That's helpful. Marcus looked up from his phone. Did he say anything to you? Try to approach? No, he just kept following. Matched my pace exactly. When I sped up, he sped up. When I slowed down, he slowed down. How close did he get? Never closer than 15 feet. But at the library exit, he was right behind me for a second. That's when I knew something was wrong. Marcus's expression darkened. This wasn't random. He waited for you. The realization hit Sarah like cold water. She'd thought maybe it was coincidence, paranoia even. But Marcus was right. The man had been outside the library specifically. I've been studying there all week, Sarah said. Always the same schedule, 3 to 6 p.m. He might have noticed the pattern. Predators watch for routines. The word predator made Sarah's stomach turn. What would have happened if she'd gone to the bus stop alone? If Marcus hadn't been there? One of the other passengers, an elderly woman, looked over at them. She'd been listening. You should report this to campus security too, the woman said. If he was watching you at the library, he might be targeting other students. Marcus nodded. She's right. This needs multiple reports. Campus security, city police, and you should tell your friends to watch out. I will, Sarah promised. A bus appeared in the distance, 2 blocks away. Sarah felt relief mixed with new anxiety. She'd be safe on the bus. But what about tomorrow? What about next week? What if I see him again? She asked. You change your routine immediately, Marcus said firmly. Different library, different times, different routes, never the same pattern twice. And you tell everyone, roommates, professors, campus security. Make noise about it. The bus pulled up. The doors opened. Thank you, Sarah said, meeting Marcus's eyes. I don't know what would have happened if... Don't think about that. You handled it perfectly. You asked for help. Sarah boarded the bus and found a seat near the front. Through the window she watched Marcus remain at the stop, phone to his ear. He was calling the police. Actually following through. The bus pulled away. Sarah finally allowed herself to shake. The adrenaline that had kept her moving was fading, leaving exhaustion behind. She'd been terrified. On the ride home, Sarah composed texts to her roommate, her best friend, and her study group. She detailed what happened, described the man, warned them about the library. By the time she reached her room, 6 people had responded with concern and promises to be careful. Her roommate, Jessica, was waiting when Sarah unlocked the door. Are you okay? Your text scared me. Sarah collapsed onto their couch and told the whole story. Jessica listened, horrified, then angry. We need to report this officially tomorrow, Jessica said. Campus security needs to know. Marcus, the biker who helped me. He was calling the police when my bus left. Thank God for that guy. What are the odds? Sarah thought about it. Marcus hadn't been there by coincidence. He'd been in that parking lot at that specific moment. If she'd left the library 5 minutes earlier or later, if she'd taken a different route, if Marcus had already left, everything had aligned. I got lucky, Sarah said quietly. Meanwhile, across town, Marcus finished his conversation with the police dispatcher. They'd taken his statement and Sarah's description. An officer would follow up with campus security in the morning. But Marcus wasn't satisfied. He'd been thinking about Sarah's situation during the entire call. That man had been following her with clear intent. He'd waited outside the library, tracked her movements, kept precise ties. This was practiced behavior. Marcus opened a group chat on his phone. It was his riding club, 15 members, who met every week for group rides. Most of them were in their 40s and 50s. Former military, retired cops, construction workers, good people who looked out for their community. He typed, "Need eyes at the university library. Student followed today by suspicious male, might target others." Responses came immediately. I'm near there tomorrow anyway. I'll swing by. What time? Send me the description. Marcus sent everything, the man's description, the timeline, the location. Within minutes, 5 members volunteered to casually monitor the area over the next week. The next morning, Sarah filed a formal report with campus security. The officer who took her statement was professional but unsurprising. We'll increase patrols around the library. Keep your phone charged. Walk with friends. Standard advice. probably the best they could offer. Sarah changed her study location to a different library across campus. She texted her new location only to trusted friends. No social media posts. No pattern. What Sarah didn't know was that 3 blocks from the new library, Marcus's friend Derek sat on a bench reading a newspaper. Derek was retired military, observant by training. He wasn't obvious, wasn't intrusive, just present. At the old library, another club member named Tony parked his motorcycle in the lot and spent an hour checking his bike, cleaning the chrome, visible and noticeable. Any predator watching for students would see a biker, attention. This continued for 3 days. The club members rotated positions, creating an invisible safety net. They weren't vigilantes, weren't looking for confrontation. They were simply there, watchful, deterring. On the 4th day, Derek noticed something. A man in a blue jacket walked past the new library twice within an hour. Same person from Marcus's description. Derek's training kicked in. He followed at a distance, careful not to be noticed. The man circled the block. He seemed to be searching for someone. After 20 minutes, he left empty-handed. Derek immediately called Marcus. Your guy from the parking lot. He was at the new library today. Marcus's blood ran cold. He found her new location. Seems like it, but he didn't see her. I don't think she was there during his window. This is escalating. He's actively hunting. We need police involved. This is beyond neighborhood watch. Marcus agreed. He called the detective assigned to Sarah's case and relayed Derek's observation. The detective took it seriously. We need to identify this individual. Can your friend provide more details? Derek met with police that afternoon and gave a detailed statement. They pulled security footage from nearby businesses. Within 2 days, they had a clear image of the man's face. The breakthrough came from a patrol officer who recognized him. His name was Robert Chen, 42 years old. Previous arrests for stalking in another state. He'd moved to the area 6 months ago. Police obtained a warrant. They found photos of Sarah on Chen's computer. Photos taken over several weeks at the library. He'd been watching her long before the day she'd asked Marcus for help. When police arrested Robert Chen at his apartment, they found more than photos. They found detailed notes about Sarah's schedule, her classes, her residence hall, maps with routes marked. This wasn't casual interest. This was obsession. Detective Williams called Sarah to inform her of the arrest. You're safe now. He won't be approaching you again. Sarah felt relief, but also violation. He'd been watching her for weeks, taking photos, planning something. What would have happened? Sarah asked. If I hadn't asked for help that day. Don't go down that road, the detective said gently. You trusted your instincts. You took action. That's what matters. The university sent out a campus-wide alert about Chen's arrest, warning students to remain vigilant. Sarah's story spread quickly, but she requested anonymity. She didn't want fame or attention. She wanted her life back. Marcus received a call from Detective Williams too. Your involvement in this case was crucial. You not only helped the victim in the moment, but your network helped us identify and locate the suspect. Just did what anyone should do, Marcus said. But most people don't. That's the problem. The detective explained that Chen had a history. 4 previous victims in 2 states. Stalking charges that resulted in restraining orders, but no jail time. He'd been escalating. Police believed Sarah would have been his first violent assault. Marcus sat with that information for a long time. After the call ended, Sarah had been minutes away from becoming a tragedy. One moment of courage, hers in asking for help. His in providing it had prevented something horrible. His phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. She'd gotten his number from the police report. Can I thank you in person? They met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. Sarah looked different from that frightened girl in the parking lot. She seemed stronger now, but also aware. She'd learned a hard lesson about the world. I keep thinking about that moment, Sarah said. When I decided to walk up to you, I almost didn't. I almost just tried to lose him on my own. I'm glad you didn't. Everyone says I was brave, but I was just terrified. Bravery is being terrified and acting anyway. Sarah finished her finals, though studying felt different now. She was more aware of her surroundings, more cautious, less naive. The university installed additional security cameras and improved lighting around campus. Small changes prompted by her report. Marcus's riding club continued their informal watch around campus, not because they were asked, but because they'd seen the need firsthand. Other students noticed the increased presence of bikers around the university area and felt safer because of it. The local news picked up the story, "Biker helps student escape stalker." The headline simplified what happened, but the sentiment resonated. Comments flooded social media. This restored my faith in humanity. We need more people like this. Proves you can't judge someone by their appearance. Marcus deflected the attention. He didn't want praise, but Sarah wanted people to understand the lesson she'd learned. She wrote an op-ed for the student newspaper. "I judged someone by their leather jacket and motorcycle. I assumed asking a biker for help was risky. I was wrong." Marcus proved that humanity exists, ends, unexpected places. He didn't know me. He had no obligation to help. But he did. Without hesitation, without asking for anything in return, he stood between me and danger. He taught me that safety comes from community, from people willing to look out for each other, from trusting our instincts about who will help versus who will harm. I'm alive and safe today because I took a chance on a stranger, and that stranger chose kindness. The essay went viral. It was shared thousands of times across social media platforms. Students at other universities started similar awareness campaigns. More people started paying attention to those around them who might need help. Robert Chen was sentenced to 5 years in prison for stalking and attempted assault. His computer evidence proved intent to harm. Sarah attended the sentencing. She wanted to face him, to take back the power he tried to steal. When the judge asked if she wanted to make a statement, Sarah stood. "You tried to make me a victim, but I refused. I asked for help, and someone answered. That's the world I used to believe in. Not one where predators win, but one where communities protect each other." Marcus sat in the courtroom gallery. Sarah had invited him to attend. After the sentencing, they walked out together. "What you started that day in the parking lot," Sarah said, "it's bigger than just me now. Students are looking out for each other more. People are paying attention. You started it by having the courage to ask. We both did our part." 6 months later, Sarah graduated. She'd changed her major to criminal justice. She wanted to work in victim advocacy, helping others who found themselves in dangerous situations. Her experience had given her purpose. Marcus attended her graduation at her invitation. She introduced him to her family, her friends, her professors. "This is Marcus. He saved my life." But Marcus knew the truth. Sarah had saved herself. She'd recognized danger, trusted her instincts, and taken action. He'd simply been there at the right moment, willing to help. That willingness to help, that simple human choice to care about a stranger's safety, that was what restored faith in humanity. Not grand gestures or heroic acts, but the everyday decision to do the right thing when someone needs help. Sarah's story became a reminder that safety is a community effort, that predators thrive when people ignore warning signs, that courage sometimes means asking for help, and that humanity still exists in people willing to stand between danger and those who need protection. The nervous student who whispered to a biker had sparked something larger than either of them expected, a ripple of awareness, compassion, and collective responsibility that spread far beyond one parking lot on one frightening afternoon. The riding club that Marcus belonged to experienced an unexpected transformation after the story gained attention. What started as a group of motorcycle enthusiasts who occasionally looked out for their neighborhood became something more intentional. They formalized their community watch efforts, creating what they called the Street Guardian program. Every member volunteered 4 hours per week to maintain visible presence in areas identified as high risk for students and vulnerable community members. They coordinated with local police, who initially were skeptical but quickly recognized the value. Crime rates in the monitored areas dropped by 30% within 3 months. Marcus found himself in an unusual position. Media outlets wanted interviews. Community organizations invited him to speak. He declined most requests, uncomfortable with the spotlight. But when the university's safety committee asked him to speak at a student assembly, he agreed. Sarah convinced him. "These students need to hear from you," she insisted during a phone call. "They need to understand that asking for help isn't weakness, that strangers can be allies." The assembly filled the main auditorium. 2,000 students attended. Marcus stood at the podium, looking out at the sea of young faces, feeling completely out of his element. He'd prepared no speech. He simply told the truth. "I'm not a hero. I'm a 53-year-old mechanic who rides motorcycles on weekends." What happened with Sarah could have happened to anyone willing to pay attention. The real story isn't about me helping her. It's about her having the awareness to know she needed help, and the courage to ask for it from a complete stranger. He paused, making eye contact with students in different sections. "Here's what I want you to understand. Evil relies on silence. Predators count on people being too scared or too polite to make noise. The moment Sarah spoke up, she took away his power. The moment she involved another person, she created a witness. That's what saved her. A student raised her hand during the question period. But what if you'd been dangerous too? How did she know you'd help? Marcus nodded. She didn't. That's the courage part. She made a split-second judgment based on instinct. Sometimes that instinct is wrong. But in a public place during daylight hours, approaching someone and speaking loud enough for others to hear, that's actually strategic. Even if I'd been a threat, she'd created attention. Other people in that parking lot would have noticed. Another student asked, "What should we do if we see someone else being followed or harassed?" Intervene safely. You don't have to be confrontational. Sometimes just walking up and saying, "Hey, haven't seen you in forever," to the potential victim is enough. Create the illusion of connection. Predators want isolated targets. The moment someone isn't isolated, most predators move on. After the assembly, dozens of students approached Marcus. They shared their own stories of being followed, harassed, or threatened. Many had never reported these incidents. They'd minimized their fear, questioned their own judgment, simply didn't know what to do. One young man, barely 20 years old, told Marcus he'd been followed home from his night shift at a restaurant 3 times in the past month. Same car, always keeping distance. He'd never told anyone, because he felt stupid, being scared. Being scared is your brain telling you something's wrong, Marcus said. Report it. Tonight, campus security needs to know. Give them the license plate if you got it. The student nodded, tears in his eyes. I thought I was overreacting. Your safety isn't an overreaction. Sarah watched these interactions from the side of the auditorium. She saw Marcus give the same patient attention to each student that he'd given her that day in the parking lot. He wasn't dismissive. He didn't minimize their concerns. He validated their fear and gave them actionable steps. Later that evening, Marcus and Sarah sat in a quiet diner, processing the day. The assembly had affected Marcus more than he expected. I never realized how many people walk around scared, he admitted. How many young people don't feel safe just going about their daily lives? It's always been this way, Sarah said. Women especially. We're taught from childhood to be aware, to carry keys between our fingers, to park under lights, to never walk alone at night. It's exhausting. That shouldn't be normal. But it is. That's why what you did matters so much. You didn't have to help. You chose to. That choice reminded people that good still exists. Marcus stirred his coffee absently. My daughter called me after the story went public. She's 26, lives in another state. She said she'd been followed to her car after work 6 months ago. Never told me because she didn't want me to worry. But after hearing about you, she realized she should have reported it. She should have told someone. Did anything happen to her? No. Guy got in his own car and left. But she spent weeks looking over her shoulder, changing her schedule, living in fear. Marcus's jaw tightened. Made me realize this isn't isolated. This is happening everywhere, constantly. Most of it never gets reported because people don't think it's serious enough until something worse happens. Sarah reached across the table and squeezed his hand briefly. You started something important. That Street Guardian program. Other cities are copying it. I got an email last week from a college in Oregon. They're working with local motorcycle clubs to create similar community watch programs. It's spreading. People are hungry for solutions, for community, for the idea that we look out for each other. Sarah pulled out her phone and showed Marcus a news article. Look at this. High school in Texas started a buddy system based on your story. No student walks to the parking lot alone. They've paired up everyone. Marcus read the article, shaking his head in amazement. All because you asked for help. All because you gave it. The conversation shifted to practical matters. The riding club needed more volunteers to sustain the Street Guardian program. They were creating training protocols, working with law enforcement to understand legal boundaries, developing emergency response procedures. It's becoming bigger than we expected, Marcus admitted. We're just regular people. We're not trained security. That's exactly why it works. You're approachable. Students see security guards and police as authority figures. Sometimes that creates distance. But seeing someone on a motorcycle reading a book on a bench, that's just a person. Non-threatening but present. Marcus understood her point. The Street Guardian program succeeded because it didn't feel like surveillance. It felt like community members caring about their neighborhood. Over the following months, the program evolved. Local businesses started contributing. Coffee shops offered free drinks to volunteers during their watch shifts. Bookstores provided reading material. The university allocated funds for better lighting and emergency call boxes in areas where club members identified gaps in safety infrastructure. Sarah became involved too. She created a safety awareness campaign that reached every incoming freshman. Simple tips: trust your instincts, make noise when uncomfortable, report suspicious behavior immediately, ask for help without shame. The statistics spoke for themselves. Reports of stalking and harassment increased dramatically, not because incidents increased, but because victims felt empowered to report them. Police could track patterns, identify repeat offenders, and intervene earlier. Marcus received a letter from the mayor's office. The city wanted to recognize the Street Guardian program officially, possibly expand it to other neighborhoods beyond the university area. Marcus brought the letter to the next club meeting. "This started because we wanted to help one student," he told his fellow riders. "Now we're being asked to help an entire city. That's a big responsibility." Tony spoke up. "We've already proven we can do it. 3 months, 0 incidents in our watch zones. That's not coincidence," Derek added. "But we need to be smart about expansion. We can't cover everything. We need more volunteers, better coordination, maybe even some actual training." The club voted unanimously to expand. They partnered with neighborhood associations, community centers, and volunteer organizations. The Street Guardian concept evolved from bikers watching near campus to a city-wide network of volunteers creating visible, non-threatening presence in vulnerable areas. Sarah graduated with honors. Her thesis focused on community-based crime prevention, using the Street Guardian program as a primary case study. She'd been accepted to graduate school for criminal justice, with full scholarship funding. Her goal was clear: develop replicable models for community safety that could be implemented nationwide. At her graduation party, surrounded by family and friends, Sarah pulled Marcus aside. "I need to tell you something. I've been offered a position with a non-profit that works on victim advocacy and community safety programs. They want me to help develop training materials based on what happened with us." "That's incredible, Sarah. I want you to be part of it. Not just your story, but you. We need people who've actually done this work to train others. Will you consider it?" Marcus looked at this young woman who'd transformed from a terrified student into a confident advocate. Her courage that day in the parking lot had multiplied, creating ripples that were still spreading. "I'm not a public speaker," Marcus said. "You were pretty good at that assembly." "That was different. That was just telling the truth." "That's exactly what we need. People telling the truth about real situations. No corporate presentations, no academic jargon, just honest conversations about how to help each other stay safe." Marcus thought about his daughter, about the countless students who'd approached him with their stories, about the young man who'd been followed home from work and thought he was overreacting. He thought about all the people who walked around scared, who minimized their fear, who didn't know asking for help was strength, not weakness. "Okay," he said finally. "I'll do it." Sarah smiled. "We're going to change things, Marcus. One community at a time." She was right. The nervous student who'd whispered to a biker had sparked something that refused to be extinguished. It grew, spread, and transformed into a movement, reminding people that humanity still existed in those who were able to see someone in trouble and simply say, "I'll help."